You're watching the award-winning GHS-TV, a nationally recognized student television station.
Hello, and welcome to this week's edition of GHS-TV's award-winning talk show, Crosstalk. I'm your host, Maggie Lathem. Each week in this time slot, we take a look at different issues, personalities, and events that affect you and our community. We have a very exciting show for you today. Memphis Mayor Jim Strickland will be joining us for the next half hour to talk about his first 10 months in office. We'll also hear about how he and his staff are accomplishing his election promises. But first, let's get to know Mayor Strickland a little better.
We need to make Memphis more attractive for people and businesses to come here.
Jim Strickland was sworn in as the Mayor of Memphis on January 1st of this year. Strickland's path to the city's top office included 8 years in public office and nearly 3 decades of community service. You may be surprised to find out Mayor Strickland is not originally from Memphis. He spent his childhood growing up in Mishawaka, Indiana, before his family relocated to the Mid-South. After graduating from Christian Brothers High School in 1982, he attended the University of Memphis and later, in 1989, received his law degree from Cecile C. Humphreys School of Law. He practiced law for 25 years before becoming mayor. In 2007, Mayor Strickland was elected to represent District 5 on the Memphis City Council. In 2013, he served as vice chairman of the council and its chairman in 2014. During his 8 years on the Memphis City Council, Jim Strickland focused his efforts on improving public safety, expanding early childhood education, and cleaning up blight. Strickland worked to increase government transparency and accountability, ensuring resources were used to protect Memphians. He worked towards his 3 main points: crime, education, and poverty, which later became the focal point of his mayoral campaign.
The establishment doesn't want change, but the people of Memphis do.
Please join me in welcoming the Mayor of Memphis, Jim Strickland. Mayor Strickland, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to be on the show with us today.
Well, thank you for having me. This is great. I appreciate it.
Now, I would like to start off talking about crime. Last week, Memphis surpassed 180 homicides. That's more than last year's total, and it's only October. In September, you posted on Twitter that you keep a journal in your office with all the names of the homicide victims since you took office. Have you looked at it lately?
Yes, I look at it at least on a weekly basis. First, I want to say it's shameful for our community that we have so many homicides. I mean, even one homicide is too many, but to have this many is just a shameful thing, not just for city government, for us as a community. Because there are so many challenges that Memphis faces that are too big for city government to handle on its own. Homicide is one, because our number one tool to use in crime are police. And it's next to impossible for a police officer to know when someone's going to fire a gun before they fire it. So the vast majority of our homicides are gang-related or domestic violence related. And those are very hard to anticipate and therefore very hard to police. So what we need to do as a community is gather together and just say, this is not acceptable. And how do we change the mindset of young people so they don't get to the point where they're pulling a trigger to solve a dispute and they really take a second look at, hey, I've got a bright future, I've got some hope. Let's not get into this violent confrontation.
And what are you and the Memphis Police Department doing to cut down on crime?
Well, the first thing we're doing is we're trying to recruit more police officers. I know I said with homicides it's very hard to anticipate, but it's clear that we need more police officers. 5 years ago or so, we had 2,450. Right now, we have 1,981. That's hundreds fewer than we used to have. We're going on an aggressive recruiting mission to get more police officers. Hopefully you've seen the advertisements on TV or radio, the billboards. We have close to 1,700 people who've applied to be a police officer. We normally, in a normal year, we have 500. That's a huge increase. We're just kicking off a program by which high school students can get an associate's degree and also become a PST, which is a patrol service technician, sort of a junior police officer, handle traffic incidents and so forth, and then get that associate's degree while being paid, and the associate's degree is free, and work your way up in 3 years to become a commissioned police officer. We'd like to have 100 students in that program so they're actively working as a PST officer, which frees up the commissioned officers to do more crime fighting and so forth. But we're also doing more than that, because crime is more than policing, or battling crime is more than policing. One thing that we're trying to do, and we've been successful at, but we got to grow it even more, is coming up with programs so we intervene in the lives of young people so they pick the right path and not the wrong path.
Mayor Strickland, over the summer there was an increase in deadly officer-involved shootings, which led to a Black Lives Matter protest on the I-40 bridge. Tonight you'll start a series of community meetings focused around what happened. What do you hope will be discussed?
Well, fortunately, those shootings, we've not seen an uptick in Memphis, but it is certainly a national conversation and a local concern of many people. This is very simply put. I want a communication, and communication is both ways. I want people to tell us what their concerns are. And we've had some of those private meetings with some of the people who were actually in the protest. And we've talked about things like their concerns were better educational opportunities for young people, programming for young people that I just talked about, better economic opportunities, jobs, minority contracting, meaning the city contracts out for some goods and services. We buy paper, we contract out for some construction work. Increasing the amount of those contracts to minority-owned and women-owned businesses. We've had really constructive conversations because those are the goals I have too. And I think more voices to going behind an effort actually helps the entire effort. But there might be other concerns. And what we're going to do is go to different communities, not just have one meeting. The night after the bridge protest, there was a town hall meeting that really was not run well. We didn't run it. It was kind of thrown together. The moderator did a very poor job. People were frustrated because they didn't get to express their concerns. So what we decided to do, have many neighborhood meetings so that hopefully they're small enough that everyone there can actually express their concerns.
Earlier this month, 443 guns were taken off the street in a local one-day program called Guns for Gas and Groceries. You were originally against the program. What made you change your mind?
Well, I have very mixed feelings about these programs because they don't have a track record of success across the country. It sounds good in theory, but they've been shown or have mixed results whether they actually reduce crime. Basically, there's enough support for it, though, in City Hall that I went ahead and went for it. It didn't cost the city any money. The cards that were given out were donated from Kroger or some things. So I was convinced, let's just go forward with it and see it. That is certainly not the solution. And even the proponents of it admit that that's not the sole solution of it, but it might be a good way to get some guns off the street. There are, unfortunately, too many accidental shootings, particularly of children getting hold of guns. So, maybe if it can impact that'd be a positive thing, even if it doesn't impact crime.
Yes, sir. Well, we have to pause and take a short break.
Thank you.
When we come back, we'll continue our discussion with Memphis Mayor Jim Strickland. Stick around.
Welcome to Germantown High School, an international baccalaureate creative and performing arts optional school, a destination school for students who are going places.
Our students are of the highest caliber when it comes to their academics and knowledge.
The IB program is a very rigorous program.
You were challenged in a way that you thought you couldn't be challenged. You succeeded, something that other kids may not have thought they could do.
They're accepted to colleges that are just, dream colleges for so many people.
Germantown High School offers a CAPA program, the Creative and Performing Arts program.
When I first came here, I saw the television studio and I was just amazed at what all I saw.
Kids do everything, that they're taught every detail that has to do with theater arts and creative arts.
I love a lot of things about Germantown High School, but primarily what I love is the athletics. There's something exciting around every single corner.
We probably are one of the most diverse high schools in the state of Tennessee, maybe the United States.
I would never doubt about sending your child to Germantown High School.
This high school is something not like any other high school that we have.
There's definitely fun in the work. We find fun in everything we do.
You're watching the award-winning GHS-TV, a nationally recognized student television station.
Welcome back to Crosstalk. I'm your host, Maggie Lathem. We are excited to have Memphis Mayor Jim Strickland with us for the whole show to talk about what he's accomplished so far and his plans for the future of Memphis. Mayor Strickland, I want to move on to poverty in the Memphis area. It was another big issue in your campaign. You talked about giving greater access to parks, libraries, and community centers. Can you expand on that?
Well, let's start with poverty itself, and then if I can get into there. Memphis has struggled with poverty for over 100 years, and it's been a challenge in Memphis for a long time, which means it's not going to be solved within the first year, may not even be solved in my first term or in my if I get lucky enough to serve 8 years, but we need to make progress on it. The startling statistic is that about 44% of the children in Memphis live in poverty. And when I tell people that, it really stops them in their tracks, because that's stunning. And we talked about the murder rate being shameful. That statistic is shameful. We are failing our children. So how do we get out of this ditch? And it's multifaceted. And I don't think anyone has all the right answers, but it's a combination of things. Better education, job opportunities, job training, because every young person is not going to go to a 4-year college, but they can learn certain skills. And it's also family support, so that people want to take advantage of those opportunities. So let me talk about those for a second. I know our last topic is education, so I'll save that one. But let's just talk about job training. Right now, there are 10,000 jobs in the Memphis community, suburbs included, that are unfilled, that businesses are looking to hire on. And I go to business after business, and they have a hard time keeping all their jobs filled. But every meeting I go to, neighborhood meeting or town hall meeting, people say we need more jobs. Somehow there's a disconnect. People don't realize all the job opportunities that are out there. So I got to do a better job. We also have to do a better job of training people. I'll give you one example. We have something called Tennessee Colleges of Applied Technology, TCATs, which you can graduate high school 18, 19 years old or get a GED. You can go to this TCAT. There are 2 in Memphis. Tuition's free, and you can get a degree after 1.5 years to 2 years. But you can get an airport mechanics degree. And you can start at FedEx making $56,000 a year. In 5 years, you can be making $120,000. That's good money. But so many people don't know about it. I bet if I walked around your school today and asked how many people knew about it, I bet it'd be a very low percent of young people who know. So part of my job is, TCAT's a state institution, so I don't have any control over it, but what I need to do is start feeding them more and more people. We have to do a better job of taking young people, hooking them up with the skills, and then hooking them up to the job opportunities, like a pipeline. And we've created a pipeline with our community colleges and employers. We go to employers and say, what job skills do you need? They say, well, we need 100 people to be able to put together this widget. So then we go to Southwest Community College and say, can you help us do that? We did it at City Hall with respect to our PST program that can lead up to being a commissioned police officers. So the opportunities are there. We need to expose them more and let young people know, and then create some more opportunities too.
Mayor Strickland, moving on to homelessness in the Memphis area. One of your main goals is to end veteran homelessness. What is your office doing to reach that goal?
Another difficult problem. I just went to a conference that Mayor Bloomberg from New York put on, and every city is struggling with homeless, actually to a much greater degree than we have. But so I say that to say that no one has the magical answer to so much of homelessness is, some of it's economic, some of it's mental illness, some of it's substance abuse. I've worked a soup kitchen in Midtown Memphis for 27 years. So I've interacted a lot with the homeless population and know the mental illness challenges we have. What we're doing is a couple things. One thing that I also mentioned, for 15 years, I was the volunteer lawyer for Alpha Omega Veteran Services, which helps drug addicted or homeless veterans get back on their feet by job training and counseling and that sort of thing. What we're doing is, the first step we've taken is partnering with Calvary Episcopal Church downtown on a program that frankly we stole from Albuquerque, New Mexico. That's one thing I've learned, that cities are okay with stealing each other's ideas because we all just want to do better. What we're going to do is we're going to drive a van around to panhandlers and say, hey, would you like to work? We'll pay you a salary to clean up blight in our city. And we're starting in November, 2 days a week. The program in Albuquerque has been so successful that they do it every day of the week. And some of their clients who started off making this hourly wage cleaning up the city have moved that to sort of what I call a real career. And that's what we really want. We want to transition people to a real career. But we have to do more in Memphis. We have roughly at any time 2,000 homeless people in Memphis. We don't have enough shelters, temporary shelters. We need more temporary shelters, but then we also need a permanent path out of the temporary shelters, because we don't want anybody to live in a temporary housing situation. But again, it's going to take all of us together, counseling, education, job opportunities, and we are bringing all the parties together to partner on that.
Yes, sir. Well, we have to stop right there and take another short break. But stay tuned. We'll have more with Mayor Strickland when we come back.
You're watching the award-winning GHS-TV, a nationally recognized student television station.
Welcome back to Crosstalk. Let's continue our discussion with Mayor Strickland. Mayor Strickland, I want to end our show talking about education. With the surrendering of the Memphis City Schools Charter in 2010, the mayor's legal authority over public schools was limited, yet you still made education a priority of your campaign. Why was that so important to you?
In brief, the number one challenge Memphis has is loss of population, people moving out. For 40 years, we've lost population. The census estimated last year we lost 3,000 people. A city cannot survive long term by continuing to lose population. Detroit failed because of population loss. So you look at why are people leaving it? It's crime in schools. So we have to improve dramatically on both counts. As city mayor, as you said, I have no control over the Shelby County schools at all. But we can partner with the Shelby County schools. And one area in particular that we're partnering is I'm part of an effort to drastically improve the third grade reading level in our city and surrounding areas. About 4 or 5 years ago, then Memphis City Schools tested third graders in its system, and only 27% of third graders could read at third grade level. Well, if you can't read by third grade, how are you going to read to learn in 4th, 5th, 6th? How are you going to learn history, math, science if you don't know how to read? Well, the answer is you won't learn those things. And therefore, you're always going to be behind. The third grade reading level has been shown by people much smarter than me to be a real indicator of how successful in life you are. So if we could improve that 27%, let's just flip the numbers to 72%, this city would improve dramatically. The first two topics we talk about, crime and poverty, would dramatically be improved if 70-80% of our third graders could read. Because it opens up worlds of opportunity. So we've got a group together of nonprofits, the business community, Shelby County Schools, city and county, to try to really focus on that over the next 10 years we drastically improve. And the Shelby County Schools has been working hard on it and has actually had results. Right now, that third grade reading level is 32%. Now, that's not something we're going to have a parade downtown Memphis and celebrate 32%, but it's movement in the right direction. And we need to really focus as a community on, and one thing that we did, the small thing, in our community centers this summer, we contracted with Mid-South Literacy to come in and tutor young people in our community centers so that they avoid the summer slide. I remember when I was in school, and my kids are the same way now, you leave school in May and you're watching TV and playing video games all summer and just kind of hanging out. You kind of forget the stuff you've learned, and when you show up in August, it takes many weeks, sometimes a month, to get back up to the level you left at. So they've scientifically proven if you get X number of hours per week in academics reading, that you avoid that summer slide. We tried it in 7 of our community centers. It worked. We're going to try to expand it in all community centers next summer. So that's kind of the small example of the efforts we're making.
Mayor Strickland, in September you were quoted in the Commercial Appeal, and I'm paraphrasing here, that the true answer to crime requires quality education and something productive to do when they are not in school. What are you doing to make sure that happens?
Well, what we're trying to do is we have many libraries. We have 24 community centers spread out all throughout the city. We do some programming. Actually, our libraries do a lot of programming. And our community centers do a pretty good job, but we just need more. I mean, that's just, I don't think anybody disagrees with that. So we need to make our community centers and libraries a magnet for neighborhood children so that when they get out of school at 3 o'clock or whatever in the afternoon, they have somewhere to go to either get on the computer and learn, or play basketball, or learn arts or craft. I'm a big sports fan, but I know the answer isn't just all sports. So we got to do different things. So this summer we had more programming in our libraries and our community centers than we had in forever. We actually moved a police officer to every one of our community centers to make them safe. We unfortunately, in the first 4 months I was mayor, we had 4 shootings at community centers or on their property. Well, if a young person doesn't feel safe, they're not going to go to a community center. And we're partnering with great groups like Memphis Athletic Ministries, Streets Ministries, the Boys and Girls Club, Big Brothers, Big Sisters, all these groups that help thousands of young people. But we collectively need to help tens of thousands of young people. So that's what we're working on, and we're trying to ever expand that audience who we help.
Mayor Strickland, during the show we talked about crime, poverty, and education, which can be disheartening for some. So I would like to end on a positive note. What positive things are going on in the city of Memphis?
Oh, we could go on for 2 hours. There's so many great things going on in Memphis. I mean, you're too young to remember, but 20 years ago, when I was in college more than 20 years ago, but when I was in college here at Memphis, University of Memphis, I could not have imagined that we'd be playing playoff basketball, NBA basketball in Memphis. Yet we are, and we're in the best arena in the country. Downtown is continuing to grow. We have one of the best zoos in the country. Shelby Farms is the largest urban park in the country and has now just had $60–70 million pumped into it. It's a great asset. Overton Park is improving. We have wonderful parks all over. They just need a little love and attention, but we'll improve them. We have great higher academic places, Rhodes and CBU and Lemoyne and the University of Memphis. We have a beautiful city. We just convinced ServiceMaster to stay in Memphis. 1,200 high-paying jobs are staying in Memphis. And you know why they stayed? Because they felt like they could recruit the best and brightest young people like you to go work for their company. And that's what they wanted to do, and they seriously looked elsewhere. Our unemployment rate is at about a 10-year low, 5% or so. I really do think that we're on the cusp, beginning of some momentum. We just got to keep it going. But the more that we can reduce violent crime, the more successful we can have. The more successfully we tackle poverty, the more success we can have. I am so optimistic about the future of Memphis because I feel so much energy that helping Memphis and with the nonprofits and the business sector, helping government solve our challenges to grow this city. We're reaching out to the suburbs in Germantown and Collierville and Bartlett to try to, because what's good for Memphis is good for the suburbs, and what's good for the suburbs is good for Memphis. Not everyone believes that, but I do, and I think we as a region can grow.
Mayor Strickland, thank you so much for being on Crosstalk today. It was an honor to have you here.
Well, that's very nice of you. Thank you for having me.
I hope today's show gave you a new perspective on what it takes to be the mayor of Memphis. Remember, Crosstalk can be seen each week at 9:30 a.m. and 7 p.m. on Mondays and Thursdays, and 12:30 p.m. and 7 p.m. on Sundays. For more information on our programming, please check us out on the web at GHS-TV.org, where we are streaming live 24 hours a day. You can also check us out on Facebook and Twitter. I'm Maggie Lathem. From all of us here at GHS-TV, thank you for watching Crosstalk, and I hope to see you again.